Tonight, the major military escalation, the largest aircraft carrier in the U.S. Navy ordered to move towards South America as President Trump ramps up the pressure on Venezuela. A massive display of firepower, including thousands of sailors, dozens of aircrafts, several destroyers, and a submarine, all heading to the Caribbean, where overnight the U.S. military struck another boat allegedly carrying drugs and cartel members. Is this all to deter drug trafficking? The deadly crane collapse in Massachusetts. 2 killed. Now the investigation into what went wrong here. The dangerous new forecast, the storm set to make a direct hit on Jamaica as a powerful Category 4 hurricane and sit there for days. Officers opening fire at a Coast Guard base housing immigration officers as a U-Haul speeds towards them, witnesses diving for cover. The stock market hits a major milestone as President Trump calls off trade talks with Canada because of a TV ad about tariffs. Canada's reaction tonight. Paychecks issued today for $0. More than 1 million federal workers missing their first full paychecks because of the government shutdown. Terrifying surveillance video just released showing a fatal bus explosion that sent workers running. The potentially life-saving update tonight, the cancer patient we told you about last night with only months to live. After our report, the incredible news he just received about the drug he so desperately needs. And after tragedy, triumph. The young girl who has already overcome so much. Her incredible story of survival and homecoming, the celebration. Nightly News starts right now.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
And good evening. We begin tonight with that massive escalation in President Trump's battle against drug cartels. The Pentagon announcing it has directed an aircraft carrier strike group to move into the Caribbean, including the largest aircraft carrier in the Navy. You see it right here, the USS Gerald Ford. The move, part of President Trump's push to counter, quote, narco-terrorism in the region. Right now, the strike group contains that aircraft carrier plus thousands of troops, 9 air wing squadrons, and multiple destroyers, all of which will soon be in the waters off South America, closer to Venezuela. It's where the Trump administration launched another deadly strike overnight. You see it right here, this latest attack against alleged drug boats and cartel members. This show of force raising new questions tonight about the mission in that region. We begin tonight with Courtney Kuby.
Tonight, a major escalation in the Trump administration's war on drug cartels. The Pentagon announcing the USS Gerald R. Ford, the Navy's largest aircraft carrier, and as many as 5 destroyers and dozens of aircraft are heading to Latin America. This after a massive show of force yesterday. The U.S. flying 2 B-1 bombers towards Venezuela, turning around just 50 miles off the coast, according to a defense official and flight data. And separately striking another alleged drug boat overnight, the administration saying they killed 6 Tren de Aragua cartel members smuggling drugs to the U.S. It's the 10th boat struck so far. The administration saying 43 people have been killed during the strikes, releasing videos but not providing additional evidence. President Trump saying the strikes save American lives when he was pressed if he would ask Congress for a declaration of war.
I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay, we're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead.
Many of the strikes happening off the coast of Venezuela. The Trump administration considers its authoritarian leader, Nicolas Maduro, as illegitimate and a narco-terrorist. Maduro announcing he's deployed 5,000 Russian-made missiles and thousands of troops along his coast.
No crazy war, no crazy war.
All as President Trump has suggested potential land strikes against cartels, saying he'll notify Congress first. But some U.S. lawmakers have questioned if the strikes are legal.
Courtney joins us live now. And Courtney, we know the CIA has been authorized to take covert action in Venezuela. Now we're seeing the news with this aircraft carrier. It's leaving many wondering if this is bigger than just a war on drugs.
Yeah, Tom, when asked, President Trump has not ruled out regime change in Venezuela, but he's also said he just won't answer the question. But a source familiar tells us the administration's goal is to get Maduro to make rash decisions that could lead him to be ousted without the U.S. ever having to put any boots on the ground. Tom?
Courtney Kuby leading us off tonight. Courtney, thank you. Now to the deadly crane collapse in Massachusetts. 2 people are dead, and now officials are trying to figure out why the massive crane toppled over. Here's Stephanie Gosk.
A terrifying and chaotic scene in Everett, Massachusetts today, just north of Boston. A crane crumbling across a barge and smashing into the water at an ongoing construction site.
Right now, we do have 1 confirmed deceased. We have another party that was transported to the hospital.
The mayor later saying the person rushed to the hospital also died. Early on, the fire chief calling it an active search and rescue operation, complicated because of the industrial equipment on the pier. Officials were concerned at first the casualties could rise.
We're just praying that, that everyone's okay.
The area along the Mystic River is undergoing renovations, according to Everett's mayor.
They're dismantling the port area here, or the former Exxon site, where the tankers used to come in and offload.
The work coming to a halt. Police say they have contacted OSHA, the Workplace Safety Agency. Tonight, the death toll remains at 2. Officials saying they were young men in their 30s or 40s, while investigators work to determine the cause of the deadly collapse. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
All right, now to the new life-threatening forecast. Tropical storm Melissa now set to become a massive hurricane and make a direct hit on Jamaica. The storm already bringing deadly flooding to the Caribbean. Bill Cairns is here now. And Bill, if this forecast stays like it is, it could be the worst hurricane in Jamaica's history.
And that's saying a lot, too. They've been hit by a Category 4 that killed over 200 people. So, yes, this forecast is as dire as it gets. We have 2 to 3 days to hopefully it'll change. So Melissa's beginning to get its act together. Over the weekend, we expect it to explode up into a Category 4 hurricane. And then by the time we get to Monday night to Tuesday, it makes its closest approach to Jamaica, moving very slowly. So almost a Category 5, moving slowly over this island. That would be horrific for them. Not just the rainfall, but the wind, the storm surge, everything. Then it crosses over areas of Cuba. The biggest concern, rainfall. Even southern Haiti could get 3 feet of rain. Jamaica, at least 1 to 2 feet of rain. And then after that, the storm goes over the Bahamas, Tom. It does look to miss the East Coast.
All right, Bill Cairns, we thank you for that. To California now, and video showing officers firing their weapons at a U-Haul truck that authorities say was backing into officers outside of a Coast Guard base that is housing federal immigration officers. Morgan Chesky has that story.
A frightening scene following protests near Oakland. Video from Thursday night showing officers firing at a U-Haul truck as it sped in reverse towards them. All playing out near a Coast Guard base. Witnesses diving for cover.
There's a U-Haul truck that was attempting to ram them. They shot up the party.
They stacked up, they drew, they threatened to shoot him if he went any further. He burned rubber right back at him.
Federal authorities say the driver was struck in the stomach and will undergo a mental health evaluation. One bystander also wounded.
I got hit! I got hit!
But later treated and released. DHS saying when the vehicle posed a direct threat, law enforcement officers discharged several rounds of defensive live fire. The incident following hours of protests there. It comes as President Trump called off deploying federal troops in nearby San Francisco. This as ICE operations are ending in dangerous confrontations nationwide. In Virginia, DHS says one man was killed as he tried to run away from ICE agents when he was struck by a car on the interstate. And this week in San Diego, 3 ICE agents were injured. Federal officials telling our station KNSD a man drove into them before being arrested. Today at that Coast Guard base, authorities increasing security as protesters returned and tensions remain high. Following a violent night. Morgan Chesky, NBC News.
Now to President Trump's showdown with Canada, pushing back on a Canadian TV ad featuring former President Reagan criticizing tariffs. And tonight, Canada says it will now stop airing that ad next week. Here's Kelly O'Donnell.
When someone says tonight, Canada pulled the plug on a TV commercial that infuriated President Trump, prompting him to abruptly cut off trade talks. The ad uses the words of the late President Reagan to make a case against U.S.-imposed tariffs.
America's jobs and growth are at stake.
The ad, paid for by the province of Ontario, set off Mr. Trump on social media, calling the ad fake, with Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs.
Such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. The
Reagan Presidential Foundation said the ad misrepresents the 1987 address on trade and said it should be watched in full. This dust-up is another skirmish in a trade war with Canada. Today, Canada's Prime Minister sidestepped the ad fury, but says he wants to keep negotiating.
When the Americans are ready to have those discussions.
The trade drama comes as Wall Street soared, with the Dow closing above 47,000 for the first time, with the S&P and NASDAQ up as well, driven in part by data that shows inflation rose less than expected. Tonight, the president begins a three-country tour in Asia, where trade and a meeting with China's leader are on the agenda. Tom?
Okay, Kelly O'Donnell. New York Attorney General Letitia James appeared in federal court today and pleaded not guilty to bank fraud charges. The indictment is related to a mortgage she took out on a property in Virginia and alleges James' actions saved her about $50 a month over the course of a 30-year mortgage. James, a fierce critic of President Trump, appeared outside the courthouse today, defiant, saying the justice system has been weaponized. On day 24 of the government shutdown, many federal employees today missed their first full paychecks. And now some of the very people we rely on to keep us safe are turning to food banks to feed their families. Here's NBC's Tom Costello.
At a Washington, D.C. food bank this morning, the line extended down the block. Hundreds of federal workers out of work and looking to feed their families.
Bills continue to pile up. I have car notes. I have children to feed. I have a family to take care of. I have a mortgage to pay.
The Bipartisan Policy Center reports 1.4 million civilian federal employees did not get paid today. Workers at the NIH, HHS, the VA, DOD, food inspectors, and TSA officers.
Just give her 2 boxes and a pizza.
The average government check should be about $4,700. Instead, zero. The most visible sign of the shutdown may be at the nation's airports, where ground stops and flight delays have been building for weeks, more than 30,000 this week alone. While some are weather-related, the DOT says up to 53% have been shutdown-related, as some controllers call out sick in protest or take second jobs to feed their families.
Instead of focusing on the safety of the American flying public, they're now focusing on what they can't afford to pay.
Amid a national controller shortage, the FAA has been pushing to hire thousands of new controllers, putting them through the ATC Academy. But while students are paid, they're not getting paid if they graduate during the shutdown and start their first jobs.
Some of our young controllers in the Academy and some who have been given spots in the next class of the Academy are bailing. They're walking away.
At the Las Vegas and Salt Lake airports, food assistance for controllers and TSA officers. With no sign of compromise on Capitol Hill, the concern is that more TSA officers and controllers might call out sick as this drags on. And the Thanksgiving travel rush is now just a month away. Tom?
A good reminder. All right, Tom Costello for us. Now to our exclusive look as NATO prepares for the unthinkable, nuclear war. As tensions with Russia rise, our Raf Sanchez takes us inside the high-stakes drills.
This is what training for nuclear war looks like. We're at the Vocal Air Base in the Netherlands, where we've been given exclusive access, as NATO for the first time allows reporters to see its nuclear war games. These European fighter jets are simulating carrying out a nuclear strike using American bombs.
NATO is a nuclear alliance.
Colonel David Bunch is the head of NATO's nuclear operations.
We're ultimately preparing for what would be the worst day.
The decision to use a U.S. nuclear weapon always lies with the president.
But in an extreme scenario like all-out war with Russia, the president could allow American nuclear weapons to be loaded onto an allied aircraft like this.
Dutch F-35s taking part in the exercise.
What message do you want Russia and other adversaries to take from this exercise?
That we're ready every day to defend every inch of this territory.
NATO says the annual exercise is meant to deter all enemies and is not aimed at Russia. But the Kremlin calling it a provocation. President Vladimir Putin responding this week, overseeing nuclear drills of his own. Under Dutch military rules, this pilot can only be identified as Lieutenant Colonel B. But should the worst day come, it would be his squadron called on to drop the bombs.
Does it weigh heavily on you?
Yes, it does, obviously, yeah. This is the highest form of violence we could use,
to be able to deter our adversaries. And the last remaining nuclear arms agreement between the U.S. and Russia expires early next year. If it isn't renewed, there'll be no limit on the number of nuclear weapons both sides can deploy. Tom?
All right, Ralph, we thank you. When we come back in 60 seconds, the chilling dash cam video, a trucker plowing through traffic. What happened today in court as the driver in the country illegally was charged with killing 3 people? That's next. Now to that disturbing video from California showing a tractor trailer plowing right through traffic. The driver is now under arrest as we learn new information about how he was in the country illegally. Here's Steve Patterson.
Tonight, the Department of Homeland Security posting disturbing video of a semi-truck as it slammed into multiple vehicles on a California highway. Authorities say the man behind the wheel, 21-year-old Jashanpreet Singh, pleaded not guilty today to vehicular manslaughter while driving under the influence. Police say his big rig slammed into traffic at high speed, sparking an 8-car chain reaction crash, killing 3 people. Among the victims, a Pomona High School basketball coach and his wife. Homeland Security officials say Singh was in the U.S. illegally, crossing the southern border in 2022 and released into the country by the Biden administration, though the California DMV says they were told he had legal status. And it follows another deadly crash in Florida, where authorities say this big rig made a reckless U-turn, causing a collision with a van. 3 people were killed. Driver Harjinder Singh was also in the U.S. illegally, according to DHS, and faces 3 counts of vehicular homicide. He's pleaded not guilty. The Florida Attorney General says Singh failed his driving test 10 times in 2 months, but eventually got a California commercial driver's license. Florida officials say he could only answer 2 of 12 verbal questions correctly. The Trump administration now investigating.
If you can't understand English, you can't understand road signs, how in the heck can you ever pass a test to be issued a commercial driver's license? You can't do it but for fraud.
And we know tonight that Florida is asking the Supreme Court to stop California and Washington State from issuing these commercial driver's licenses to people in the country illegally. Tom?
Steve Patterson. We're back in a moment with a deadly bus explosion in El Paso. Why it burst into flames when it wasn't on the road. That's next. We're back now with some new video of a deadly explosion at a bus facility. It happened in El Paso in February. Look at this. A city bus hoisted up on a lift, tipping over and exploding multiple times. 2 people were killed and 11 others injured. According to officials, a natural gas cylinder was damaged by part of the lift when it tipped over, causing that huge fire. Also tonight, a scary moment on the Brooklyn Bridge when this car burst into flames on the bridge, shutting down traffic in both directions. Thankfully, the FDNY says nobody was hurt. And we have a big update now to the story we brought you last night in our series, The Cost of Denial. We told you about John Middleton, a father in North Carolina who has bile duct cancer in his liver. His doctor recommended the drug Zahara, which he considered John's best chance at beating cancer and living a long life, and to get that liver transplant. Without it, he only had 18 months to live. Insurance denied coverage of the drug and approved an alternative instead. Well, tonight, we just learned that the maker of Zahara, Jazz Pharmaceuticals, is granting John the drug at no cost. We heard from many of you, our viewers, with offers to help John and his family, and we wanted to share this update with you. When we come back tonight, how this community stepped up to welcome this young girl home from the hospital months after a terrible attack at her school. Stay with us. Finally, there's good news tonight for 12-year-old Sophia, who was among the students injured during the August church and school shooting in Minneapolis, the touching homecoming by the same community who helped heal her. Watch as medical staff cheer on 7th grader Sophia Forkas, discharged nearly 2 months after the August 27th mass shooting at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis that took the lives of 2 young students, 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel and 10-year-old Harper Moisky. 18 children were injured, among them Sophia, who had a bullet lodged in the side of her head. Last month, Sophia's neurosurgeon leaning on prayer.
If you had told me at this juncture 10 days later that we'd be standing here with any ray of hope, I would have said it would take a miracle.
Her father, Tom, fighting back tears.
Sophia is strong. Sophia is fighting. And Sophia is going to win this fight.
Sophia's story of survival would become an anthem for hope. Sophia Strong. Here's the moment yesterday she arrived at Annunciation Catholic School, swarmed by her friends and classmates. And back at the hospital, cheers as Sophia emerged. Among the first in line, the very neurosurgeon that saved her life. Happy birthday to you. Then, everyone singing to Sophia just in time for her 13th birthday. That's Nightly News for this Friday. I'm Tom Llamas. We thank you so much for watching. Tonight and always, we're here for you. Good night. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.